Hello and welcome to the France 24 interview. This week in Geneva, representatives from Iran and from the so-called P5+1, the 5 members of the UN Security Council plus Germany, will meet in Geneva for a second round of negotiations over Iran's nuclear program. After a successful session in mid-October, the question is whether this will indeed lead to a breakthrough in this very difficult issue that has been an issue for 10 years now. Our guest today is the lead Iranian negotiator, the foreign minister, Mohammad Zarif. Thank you for being on the France 24 interview.
It's good to be with you.
Mr. Foreign Minister, in recent days, both the Supreme Leader Ali Khamenei and Iran's President Hassan Rouhani said they were, quote unquote, not optimistic about the outcome of those negotiations. What's your assessment?
I believe there is a lot of work to be done. We've made some progress, but there is a great deal of mistrust in Iran concerning the attitude, the behavior, and the approach of some members of P5+1, or as some would call it, E3+3. And I believe the trust of the Iranian people must be regained. And therefore, we need to enter these discussions with an open eye, but in good faith. We are prepared to reach an agreement. We believe that it has taken all sides about 8 years to box ourselves in an unnecessary crisis because we believe Iran does not want or seek nuclear weapons. We believe even the perception that Iran is seeking nuclear weapons is detrimental to our security. So we believe this entire crisis is unnecessary and unrealistic. But we need a political will on all sides in order to resolve this issue, because one side alone cannot resolve this issue. Iran is ready to come to the negotiations as we have shown in the past 2 rounds, because we had 1 ministerial round in New York, we had 1 negotiation round in Geneva. We had 1 technical round of discussion last week in Geneva, in Vienna, 1 with the IAEA.
Which was deemed very productive.
That was very productive. And we had a good session between our experts in Iran 5+1 discussions, again, in Vienna. So this is the 4th round of discussions after the election of President Rouhani between Iran and P5+1. So we are optimistic that we can move forward. But we are there with an open eye because the trust of the Iranian people needs to be regained.
You said recently a deal could be reached quickly. What do you mean by quickly?
I believe if there is political will on all sides to move forward, then we can have the framework of an agreement. The framework of an agreement, we already agreed last time in Geneva, should include a common objective. We have already defined from our perspective, what the common objective is: an Iranian nuclear program, including enrichment, which remains exclusively peaceful. This is our objective, and this, in our view, can easily be the objective of the other side. Now, we need to see an end game that we can all agree in, and we need to take a first step mutually on all sides so that we address the most immediate concerns of the various sides involved in these negotiations. I believe it's not that difficult to reach that agreement. I believe it's even possible to reach that agreement during this meeting. But I cannot talk. I can only talk for our side. I cannot talk for the other side. If the 5+1, if members of the 5+1 are prepared to reach an agreement, then we can have an agreement. I don't believe if we do not make a breakthrough in this round, it's a disaster, because it's taken a long time to reach this state. Now we need to take concrete, firm, reasonable steps to reach agreement and to be able to build on those agreements. I believe we've come very far in the last 3 rounds, so we need to take a few more steps. We're prepared to take them in Geneva, but if we can't take them in Geneva, we'll take them in the next round.
But what you're saying is a framework agreement is possible this week in Geneva.
It is possible, but it's not necessary. It is possible from my perspective because I believe we've come a long way. But there are some details that need to be worked out. There needs to be readiness on all sides. There needs to be political will on all sides. I cannot exert political will on the side of France and other members of EU 3+3. It requires leadership, courage, determination to resolve the issue from all sides.
It requires trust. The problem is Western countries, the United States, do not trust Iran's peaceful intentions when it comes to the nuclear program. What can you do in very concrete terms to reestablish that trust? Are you ready to allow more intrusive inspections of several sites? Are you ready to cap the level of enrichment of uranium? Are you prepared to take those steps?
Well, first of all, we have to be clear. Lack of trust is a mutual problem. We believe that E3+3, particularly the Western members of E3+3, need to regain the trust of Iranian people who've been the subject of illegal, inhuman sanctions that have been imposed on even the purchase of medicine using Iranian money by Iranian people to treat our patients. So that has been the type of behavior that has been exhibited by certain Western countries, leading to a great deal of mistrust on the Iranian side. Now, we are prepared to address serious, realistic concerns of the P5+1, of the Western members of P5+1 about our nuclear program. Now, I'm not going to negotiate on the air. I believe negotiations should be reserved for the negotiating room in Geneva, but we will go there prepared to address the concerns of P5+1 on the condition that they are also prepared to address our concerns. There are mutual concerns, mutual areas of mistrust and lack of confidence, and we need to build confidence as we go along. We do not want to re-establish the lost confidence in one session. We believe the first step will take us a long way in rebuilding that confidence, and then we can take the more difficult steps, all of us.
The Obama administration has for now asked Congress not to slap more sanctions on Iran. Is this a good thing?
Well, there are forces in various countries, including in the United States, who see sanctions as an end in themselves. Sanctions have not produced any positive results for anybody. But there are forces who do not want to see a resolution. They simply want to compound the problem so that they would preclude a possible resolution of this issue.
But the fact that the Obama administration has asked them to stop this for now, are you happy with this?
Well, we're not happy with the fact that there are a huge number of illegal sanctions imposed by the United States against Iran, and I believe the Obama administration needs to show leadership and move in the direction of removing those sanctions, which are against international law, which interfere in bilateral relations between sovereign states. The United States is twisting the arms of many banks, many companies, not to do business with Iran in areas that would constitute totally legitimate trade, even humanitarian trade. These are unacceptable behavior that needs to be stopped.
I want to get very quickly to Syria. There is also talk of a Geneva 2 session to try to solve the situation. There is discussion whether Iran should participate or not. Are you willing to participate?
If invited, we will participate. We believe that Iran can contribute to a peaceful resolution of this very tragic situation in Syria. We've had good discussions with our Turkish neighbors. As two important regional players, we want to bring our views closer together in order to be able to move forward. We believe that everybody should assist the parties, the Syrian parties, to come to the negotiating table and assist them in reaching a resolution. Iran has already done its part. I believe those who are supporting armed groups need to do their part in order to put an end to this illusion that there can be a military solution to Syria, that there can be another excuse to wage a missile attack against Syria, so that they would come to the negotiating table prepared to reach a political solution. Iran will do its best.
Is Iran ready to stop its military support for the Assad regime? There were reports that a commander of the Revolutionary Guard was killed in Syria. Are you ready also to say, okay, we're also pulling back?
Iran is prepared to make every effort to seek a peaceful solution in Syria. And we will do our best to bring all the parties to the negotiating table in order to find a peaceful solution. Now, you have a government in Syria which is recognized by the United Nations, has a seat in the United Nations, and Iran has normal relations with that government. We do not have forces on the ground in Syria, but we have relations with the government of Syria. The question must be addressed to those who are supporting terrorist, extremist forces inside Syria. Most of them even are not Syrian. This is a band of extremists which is mobile. One day they're fighting in Chechnya, the other day they're fighting in Afghanistan, the next day they'll be fighting in Iraq, in Yemen, in various parts of the region. And if this extremist terrorist trend is not contained, then it will not be confined to this region. People should not sit happy in the capitals of Europe just seeing that these extremists are fighting it over in our region. This is a global problem. If we do not deal, 9/11 showed to everybody that extremists that were produced in our region by extraneous forces haunted those extraneous forces at the end of the day. So you need to be clear that we need all of us to unite in dealing with extremism and violence. Otherwise, this will become everybody's problem.
But it also means Iran reining in Hezbollah.
Iran is prepared to call for withdrawal of all foreign forces from Lebanon. Hezbollah has no presence in Lebanon. In Syria, we are prepared for everybody with influence to push for withdrawal of all non-Syrians from the Syrian soil. We will do our best.
Okay. Thank you very much, Mr. Foreign Minister. That's all we have time for. Thank you very much for watching this edition of the interview here on France 24. Stay tuned for more news.